Okay, one thing in woodworking is to know how to measure things. And you'll use a tape measure, and here you have it broken down in inches or in centimeters. And so you can use either one. I'm old school, so I use inches. Uh, a tape measure can tell you a length, and you also have it broken down, and there's always a little hook there that hooks onto your board, and we can tell that this is approximately 45 inches. Now, one of the things that in the breakdown of a tape measure, and we can use this as an example, when you're looking at a dimension, you can count the number of breaks here. Like between 21 and 22, this is a ½ inch, so this would be 21 and a half from this end of the ruler. Then if you go half between that, that's a quarter, and then half between that is an eighth. So we can have 1 1/4, or 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 3/8, 1 1/2, 1 5/8, 1 3/4, and 1 7/8. So you have all those measurements. Now, on a tape measure, it goes down to 16ths, and so you actually have an eighth, and then you have 16th, and wherever it lands on the number of 16ths. So, and some might even have 30 seconds. But most of the time, a 16th is close enough. These tape measures are very cheap. I like this little 12-foot because it fits in my pocket real well when I'm working. However, this is called a lefty-righty fastcap.com, www.fastcap.com. You can get it. And what did you pay for this?
$13.
13 bucks. This is really handy because if you're looking at this tape measure and you're measuring this way, you're looking at it upside down, so you have to kind of reverse your numbers here. And that makes it rather difficult to read, 7, 8, 9, but you might transpose that to a 6, or you might get off, and that's a real problem, has been for me over the years. But this lefty-righty, as they call it, you will see that the numbers go in both directions. You can number this way, or you can number this way. And so this is really handy to be able to do that. Plus, if you'll notice here, you have the number of eighths and the number of 16ths in your measurement. So it tells you how many 16ths, how many eighths, how many quarters, and of course the half. And so that really is handy when you're not as familiar with using standard American measurements. One other thing about this tape measure, like a lot of tape measures, it has a lock so that it will stay in place after you put it as a measure. Another thing about most tape measures, on the side it will tell you the distance between here and here. And I don't know if you can see that, but this says 2 3/4. So
hold that up again. Let's take a look at that closer.
2 3/4.
Got it.
This one, it's there, but you can't hardly read it.
Okay.
So the issue here, if you had a measurement in between two things, like say you had this was a wall, and you were measuring up to another distance, well, you know that if you have a distance such as, say, 11 inches, and you're measuring in between, you can just add 2 3/4, which would be 13 3/4 in order to get that distance. This tape measure also has another advantage that I really like, is oftentimes I'm looking for something to write my length on. And here you have it if you want to make it 12 1/2. And there you have that. And of course this erases, and you can start over and write something else. A fourth thing on this tape measure is that you have a pencil sharpener. So if you use something other than a mechanical pencil, you can sharpen it right there, a round pencil, right on the job. Some tape measures, this one doesn't have it, but there are tape measures that stay when you pull them out, and then you press the button to bring them in. That's a handy feature. This one doesn't have it, but some do. This also has underneath a little button that when you get out there, you can just hold it tight and it will stay, and you release it and it comes in. So that's basics of tape measure. Whenever you're marking something, it's always good to mark it in such a way that you know what you're doing. Like, say I want something exactly 12 inches here. Well, the way to do that, and to do it properly, is to mark a small mark on the one side and a large mark on the other, knowing that this is the side that you would remove when you cut it off.